January is my secret weapon, y'all. And that's because at the end of January, my freezer is already filled with fresh meats, my Easter dinner is already handled, and my holiday gifts for next year are already done. And that's all without spending a penny over my weekly budget. That's right, I do all of that with no extra cash, no stress, just strategy. Yep, so stick around because in this month's Pantry Chat, I'm going to give you the literal guide on over 6 meal ideas for dinner, attempt to convince you to do your holiday shopping now, and show you how to fill your freezer for the next 3 months this month. So here's how you do it. First, you stick to a grocery guide. And each month, I email you a monthly grocery guide that lists the seasonal fruits, veggies, and other seasonal sales and markdown items that are going to be at their lowest price and best taste. And then we're going to pair that with the preservation plan. So in addition to eating it fresh, you also need to think about how are you going to can some, freeze it, ferment it, dehydrate it, whatever, so that you have enough to last when you can no longer source it inexpensively or grow it yourself. And then lastly, you take those focus foods and that's what you meal plan around the month, which is why you want to use those half sheet recipe cards that I include in your grocery guide so you can cut them and tuck them in your recipe box or binder. Because in a minute, I'm going to show you how to make delicious casseroles, chilies, one pan meals, and more that you're going to want to make this month. So first, let me read the grocery guide items and then you'll join me in making these recipes. Now, the vegetables that are in season that you'll want to meal plan around this month include beets, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, celery root, collard greens, kale, leeks, onions, parsnips, potatoes, radishes, rutabagas, spinach, sweet potatoes, turnips, and your winter squash. So things like butternut, acorn, and spaghetti. And your seasonal fruits that you're going to want to meal plan around include apples, blood oranges, clementines, grapefruit, kiwis, lemons, limes, oranges, pears, persimmons, pomegranates, and tangerines. All right, before I hit you with the meal magic, we need to have a little heart-to-heart. I know no-spend challenges are trendy right now, bless their hearts. And for some folks, that's totally valid. But if you're running your kitchen like a boss, seasonal cycles, clearance sales, never paying full price for your pantry, January is your golden ticket. At that point, the budget looks better when you do shop. And that's because stores are practically begging you to grab those post-holiday sales. Turkey, ham, lamb, baking goods, it's all on clearance. So that's why I skip those challenges and instead I just shop smart. And those of y'all that normally keep quiet, back me up on this on the comment section. And while you do that, let me show you what I've snagged lately.
Look at these smoked bone-in hams that have been marked down to 89 cents a pound or more than half off of what they were the week of Christmas. I've snagged several of these hams for between $6 to $8. I also grabbed a few of these boneless thick ham slices for about $3 to $4. And look at these veal slices, which were originally priced at $15 to $18 and are now just between $8 to $9. So I grabbed some of those, but then I saw the leg of lamb roast marked half off too for just $29. And there was a smaller one for $19. And these are pasture fed and finished. What an excellent price for my Easter meal. The meat department also had chicken breast fillets with an expiration date 2 days from now, so I grabbed these 2 bags, 10 breast for right under $10 or 99 cents a pound, and I just threw them right in my own freezer. Earlier in the week, I found these boneless turkey breasts also marked down to just $4 each for a total of 8 pounds of meat, and I knew that I wanted to make some turkey sausage patties out of them. A couple of years ago, I snagged a meat grinder attachment for my KitchenAid stand mixer, and I love using it to make my own ground meats when I'm working with large portions of meat like this. The attachment is small and it fits right in a drawer, and it makes grinding your own meat a cinch. Plus, ground turkey or specialty meat blends like, meatballs or sausage links become super affordable when you make them at home for yourself, instead of relying on the store to do it for you and then add their markup. So seasoning your meat for turkey is pretty simple. You just add a bit of salt and pepper, and I like adding lots of sage, which I still have growing out back. And then you'll add in some fresh or dried thyme, along with a few shakes of cayenne pepper and 2 to 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. Now, I'm using a 0 sugar sweetener substitute called Swerve because this batch is going to be for my dad. So after you've added all of your spices to the bowl, you're going to mix it and store it in small plastic bags like, the sandwich size, where you can just cut off one of the corners and then squeeze it out when you go to use it. Or you can pre-freeze them like me into patty portions. Now, I'm just using materials that I already have in my kitchen to do this. And I'm going to actually cook one up so that you can see how delicious these are. Now, isn't this patty just pretty? But better yet, it doesn't contain added fillers, binders, preservatives, MSG, or artificial colors like many of the ready-made sausage packages do. Paired with an over-easy duck egg from my friend's farm, this is what I call a good and simple breakfast. Okay, so like a half hour later, I'm taking the raw turkey sausage back out so that I can bag them into baggies. Now, as I bag them, I'm just pushing the air out and ensuring that there's separation. Now, because these are on the larger side, I'm placing 2 per quart size bag, and I ended up with a total of 12. I think this is either my 4th or 5th ham that I've broken down like this in the last month, but this is also the time of year where I stock up on my ham supply for the entire year. And I mostly can my ham into cubes that I then toss into omelets or make ham salad with. I also make canned soups that have ham in them, like any bean combination with ham. And then I make ham broth that I use to cook my collard greens in later on. Well, you're going to see all that. Well, now that I think about it, I actually might purchase one more ham after Easter. Sometimes I do that, it depends on the year. But then that ham will sit in my freezer for the next 7 or 8 months until it's Thanksgiving or Christmas. Now looky here, you bet not throw this fat away as you break down your ham. Why? Because there is tons of flavor in here that will impart a subtle bacony smokiness and richness that will take your soups, sauces, roasted veggies, and any other pan-seared meat to the next level. I love tossing a few pieces of country ham skin and fat into the crock pot or stock pot as I cook. Honey, you've bought the ham, so use every bit of it. Now, I usually freeze it into weekly portions, and then, which is what I'm kind of like doing here as I like roll it over. So I just have to like unroll one and take it out and then leave the rest like in the freezer bag. But I will just toss some ham fat into my cast iron skillet before I start cooking, and then I'll toss in usually like, some onion or garlic on top. And that also reduces the amount of tallow that I need to cook with, thereby stretching my supply, but not cutting back on flavor. Goodness, I'm sharing all of Grandma's secrets with y'all today. The truth is, you can't buy every ingredient on a grocery shelf, and some ingredients can still be affordably obtained by cooking with what we now call scraps. It's not affordable to cook with bacon for every meal, but you can keep your fat skin out of the trash and add just as much flavor to a meal by doing this.
Pretty impressive, right? I cannot tell you how excited I am about my lamb. Y'all, doing stuff like this is how I regularly look like the hostess that goes all out, when in reality, even though I have pricier cuts, the meal that I have likely slides in under what you paid. Plus, I just refuse to be out in the crowds at certain times of the year when everyone else is out there too. The longer lines, reduced inventory, girl, that ain't for me. The rest of my day, I'll be hot and bothered. And so, along with the meats, I followed the gift plan that I told you about in last month's pantry chat. Remember that I told you that the day after Christmas, early in the morning, is the best time to go shopping. There are virtually no crowds, well, except for other people like me who are now doing this. But yeah, there's no crowds, it's not chaotic, and you can scoop up savings that are at least 50% off or, more. Now, I will say that this year was a little bit different because there were more things that were just marked down to 50% off versus the 75. There were also a lot of things that were not marked down at all, and well, it said that it was when you got to the register and it didn't ring up that way. And honey, I am not afraid to be like, oh, it's not on sale. Take it off, because like that is the point of doing this. So one thing that we needed, so I found normally these lights would be $25? $25 for some Christmas lights? No, ma'am. Anyways, I found these for half off because the lights that we have on our tree, we actually have, I think it's 2 sets. And so there's not enough to go all the way around, but I'm not paying full price for something we just used for a couple of weeks. And so instead what we've been doing is I just snake the lights around the front of the tree because the back of the tree, nobody's back there. We don't have ornaments back there either. So found these with the little kind of reel. So yes, $25 for 2. How many feet is this? 42 feet. Okay, yeah, that will definitely do our tree justice. So we got that, and then I needed some more of these little things. So those are 50 cents. Here's what I got, and these are things for like coworkers, my neighbors, that kind of thing. I don't drink Starbucks coffee, but I know it's like something someone else will enjoy. So yeah, it comes with this mug and then like a little set. This was normally, this one was 50% off, so it's $5. These were 75% off. You can't go wrong with like dish towels. And this is still paired with some of the inventory, y'all. I didn't go to zero on what I already have. I always just like doing ornaments, like always. So these ornaments were like 50 cents, right? Oh, I found more of these. Oh, look at this cute, like antique one. That's pretty. Oh, okay. I have 2 of those. Yeah, so I have like 2 of these. Yeah, more ornaments. Those are just always nice to tuck away. And then I found more boxes for like homemade cookies, cookie tins and stuff. People like these. Those were 50 cents. Yep. I got some more red and green tissue paper. This was, if it was 50% off, okay, then it was $1. And then, you know what, another thing I realized too, is other than the lights and the ornaments, we get our ornaments from like places we like to go, I don't have any other decorations, which has been fine. But look at these beautiful burlap things, y'all. So they were $2. $2, so I got like 3 of them to put around the tree for next year. Oh no, I got 4, so I should have enough. I think that will be really pretty, you know, but still very affordable. Another ornament. And yeah, so combined with what I already have, y'all, this is what I do every year. And here's the thing. I think maybe retailers this year, at least in my neck of the woods, are holding off a little bit longer to mark down their seasonal goods, which is fine by me because as I showed you last year, it was still in like February and March that they were marking down like the really cozy, thick socks, gloves, all those things. So you start your seasonal shopping in, you know, early January, but you still have plenty of time, especially at the end of cold weather season, normally around like the end of March, to get all of these seasonal goods for your holiday gifts next year. All right, it's finally time to get to the meals, but we're actually going to start with leftovers. Yep, whatever you have, scraps from your Christmas turkey, ham, rotisserie, it doesn't matter. Which is why easy leftover soup is amazing.
You'll start by adding the fat of your choice to a large heavy bottom pot over medium heat. I'm using butter. And then you'll add a few chopped onions. I had some baby carrots left over from a veggie platter and then an extra stalk of celery that I didn't end up needing. But you could substitute any type of diced squash, leeks, or fennel. I also had some cauliflower that I needed to use up, so that's what's going in the pan, along with these clearance baby mushrooms I got for 66% off at $1.52. And add as much minced garlic as you'd like to give things some taste. And after that, you're gonna need some broth, and I'm whipping out my homemade corn and ham stock. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? I'm talking about the beauty of homemade broth. And I'm not just saying that because it's mine. I mean anything homemade. All right, I digress. But now go ahead and you're gonna dump in your meat. Here is my leftover turkey. Y'all, do you see how chunky this soup is? You cannot buy this in a tin can at a store by that name, which is why I love homemade soup. Now you're going to season to your fancy. I'm using smoked paprika, a little bit of salt and pepper, which is all the flavor this needs because my broth is already sensational. The last step is optional, which is just to pour in a splash of milk. This makes things a little creamy. Let this recipe be proof that you do not need to hug a recipe for every dish you make and that you can and should combine leftovers that you already have and need to use up. Soups are perfect for this purpose, and especially this time of the year. I've given you a fuss-free walkthrough of this recipe in this month's grocery guide.
Now another recipe that's good if you have a little bit of this and a little bit of that is gumbo. Now this is a quick version that throws in a little bit of seafood because you know I'm a Maryland girl. Mom was from Maryland and my daddy's from Louisiana. And also because seafood is another meat that y'all, I'll say usually, but not always, find marked down this time of the year.
I'm starting with Anadolu sausage, which is commonly used in gumbo because its smoky, spicy flavor and hearty texture perfectly complement the rich base of the dish. And then I'm adding some cooked shrimp to a pan of melted butter. Here's the last portion of one of the post-Christmas turkeys that I cooked up. And now we're going to go ahead and just take some celery, which this is actually the same stalk that I used earlier in this video for another recipe. And I'm going to chop that up along with some bell peppers. Now, as you're cutting up your peppers, don't forget to cut up around the stem too. I feel like this gets tossed out, even though it can absolutely be used. After you've cut up your peppers, then you're going to grab an onion or two and you're going to roughly chop that up. And in a separate skillet that you've buttered, I'm using ghee, which gracious is going to add so much flavor to this dish because we're going to make a roux, which is a combination of flour and fat. And it's unmatched when you use animal fat like tallow, ghee, or duck fat. As you sprinkle in your flour, it will go from a blonde to a caramel color, like a milk brown chocolate. A solid gumbo starts with a dark brown roux, and it needs to be cooked almost to the point where you're concerned the flour is going to burn. Then you're going to add your roux to the skillet with your cooked meat, and then after that, you're going to saute your chopped onions, your celery, and peppers. Next, you'll need broth, and I've grabbed several jars from my basement canning pantry, mostly ham broth, but then also some chicken. I just love the sound of popping lids on my canning jars. Let's listen to that again. So you're going to pour in your broth and then transfer your veggies into the pot. And no, I did not forget about the okra. So this is a bag of frozen okra. And to this, we're going to add like a half cup, I think, of Cajun seasoning, pepper flakes, smoked paprika, a bit of pepper, and then give things a really good stir so that all those flavors can combine. Y'all, the meat in this pot was between 99 cents to $1.45 per pound, which is what chicken is going for. So yes, while this is typically an expensive dish, because I've chosen to make it at a time when it economically makes sense, it's really not any more expensive than the meals that I've been sharing with you. So of course, we've got to top this off with some white rice, and that big old pan that I made, I portioned it into quart-sized jars and put them in the freezer for future meals.
If this is our first time meeting, hi, I'm Cassandra from the blog becomingaffarmgirl.com, and I'm here to help you start cooking with what's on sale, in season, and better yet, already on your shelf. To get my free grocery guide delivered straight to your inbox, click on the link in the description box or in the pinned comment. Oh, you're gonna love this recipe too.
January is the time of year when a lot of your dried and canned beans go on sale, so get them while you can. This week, 1-pound packages of black-eyed peas and chickpeas are 2 for $3. Beans are nutritional powerhouses, and seasoned the right way are anything but boring or bland. When you get home or the night before you go to cook with your beans, you want to soak them in cool water overnight, which allows them to absorb water and expand. And this significantly reduces their cooking time. It helps to improve their texture by making them softer and more evenly cooked, and may also help with digestion. You'll want to drain the water and replace it at least once before you go to cook with them, but my black-eyed peas are headed straight for the crock pot. So this is a black-eyed pea kind of chili recipe, and I intentionally like switching up the beans that I use. So to this, you're just going to go ahead and add some garlic, some chopped jalapenos, some pepper, since I had a few of those that were left over, a splash of apple cider vinegar, and then these chipotle peppers. Oh my goodness, they are so good. Just a couple of them if you don't want things to get too spicy on you. A little bit of Ceylon cinnamon, just a couple of shakes, and then you're going to add in some chicken bone broth. You could also use water, but I have plenty of broth around here. And then, yes, some bacon. So I'm just letting this drain on a cloth towel, and then I'll just take my scissors and chop it up, and then I'm going to go ahead and add this to the crock pot. Y'all, I don't know where my mind was, but I forgot to add some chopped onions and then also a can of diced tomatoes. I forgot to just record that, but I also added this to the crock pot. And I think I let this thing sit on the counter on low for the next 4 hours until it was ready to go. All right, our black-eyed chili is ready to go. And y'all, it's so good. It's so filling. It's nutritious. You got to give this one a try. Ooh, can you guess what we're going to make with our chickpeas? It's actually a recipe for the pantry that starts with roasting some red peppers, which we're going to drizzle with a bit of olive oil because when we put them in the pan and then into the oven, we're actually going to broil them for a couple of minutes. And then we're also going to roast some garlic because we're going to need a lot of it. So I actually like getting these already peeled cloves from Aldi, which are right at $2 a bag. And we're going to drizzle them with olive oil too. And then we're going to stick them in the oven along with our peppers. Y'all, I'm using these chickpeas to make my own shelf-stable hummus. I love dipping veggies in hummus as a quick snack, but often one thing that is overlooked when buying store-bought hummus is it uses highly processed seed oils, which can increase inflammation in the body. So I'm avoiding that by making my own. And right now I'm just skimming off the foam, which is safe to eat, but aesthetically, most people prefer just to skim it off. Don't worry, my peppers aren't as bad as they look. This blackened skin peels right off. So we're going to make a roasted red pepper hummus and then a roasted garlic, olive, and artichoke hummus. My kitchen was smelling so amazing at this point. So now I am just scooping 2 tablespoons of the roasted garlic in the bottom of each of the jars. I'm using pint-sized jars. And in this batch, I was canning a total of 8 jars. So 4 of them were going to be the roasted red bell pepper hummus. And so I'm adding 2 tablespoons of peppers to each jar. Pivot to the other 4 jars and we're going to add our olives and the artichokes. And what's really nice about canned hummus is that all of the ingredients after we pressure cook the jars will be fully cooked, and then all you have to do is just dump the entire jar into a blender, blend it until it's super smooth and creamy, and you're done. You're doing all the work right now. So we're adding in some toasted sesame seeds to all of the jars, along with a couple of tablespoons of lemon juice, and then a teaspoon of salt to each of the jars. But in my roasted red bell pepper hummus, I'm going to add some smoked paprika. Oh my goodness. Can you tell that this hummus is going to be so super savory? And then to the other jars, I'm adding some cumin. So this is my olive and artichoke version. And then we're just going to ladle in our hot chickpeas. The thing that sealed the deal for me in making my own hummus is that I could add homemade chicken broth or whatever stock that I have to my recipe. And let me tell you, it just makes it so savory because they're just using either water or, again, oils. This was actually corn stock that I made this summer, which has just the loveliest, most savory flavor. And I'm telling you, like, you cannot get this chickpea recipe at the store, for this price, because I actually used organic chickpeas because they were on sale as well, but organic hummus has a markup. And then, as I said, I canned it in ingredients that I just feel so great about, and the taste is just even better than store-bought hummus, which I already loved. All right, so we're just putting on our lids and our rings, fingertip tight, putting them in the canner, and then voila, here's what we have, shelf-stable hummus.
Just a reminder, you'll find these recipes in your grocery guide.
All right, also Meyer lemons are also at their lowest price because they're in season right now, but you do want to remove the wax that they put on the flesh, and so I just add them to a bowl. I pour over some hot water, and then I'll take a clean kind of scrubby and I will just scrub off the flesh. You'll see the residue sometimes rise to the surface in the water, but after they're rinsed, I'll go ahead and I'm going to ferment these, so they'll last for like months, just in a jar right on a shelf. And so you remove the ends, and then you're going to create an X through the lemon. So you're not going to cut all the way down, but just down enough, then stop, and then pivot it and create an X shape. So I'm just going to do that and repeat that process with the rest of the lemons. Then you're going to add a 1/2 inch of sea salt to the bottom of a jar. And then you're going to take the salt and you're going to be pretty liberal with coating the inside of the flesh with additional sea salt. And in case you're wondering, I like using preserved lemons in salad dressings, stews, and marinades. And I don't know, this might sound a little weird, but as I get older, during the wintertime, as you're eating more of these kind of like savory meals, I really like having the other contrast of citrus elements that are added to foods. And so preserving them, and because they're also available during this time of year, is something that I truly look forward to. So yeah, you're just gonna go ahead and stack your lemons in there and then add a couple of bay leaves. And then before you go ahead and add your next layer, you're gonna sprinkle over some peppercorns and then another layer of salt, and then just repeat this process until your jar is filled. And then you're gonna add a weight over top, squeeze it down so that you can release some of those juices. And then you're just going to add non-chlorinated water to make sure that a liquid covers all of the lemons and you have your salty brine. And then that's it. You're just going to leave the lemons to ferment for 3 to 4 weeks in a cool place in your kitchen. Yep, it's that easy.
All right, it's been a long time coming, but I've made a new addition to my kitchen because I kept running into this very particular problem. Oh, this is not working anymore. And what I mean by that is me storing all of my cast iron in my oven. Now this is something that I've done all of my life. Why? Because that's what my mama did, that's what my nana did, that's what my aunties have done, my grandmothers. I mean, we just did. And I get that not everybody does this. Maybe this is a country thing. I don't know. I just never questioned it. But it also always kind of made sense, right? So you keep your pots and pans in the oven because it doesn't take up your precious, drawer space anywhere else. They're already there at the oven space where you're going to use them. And I mean, yeah, but y'all, I have my enamel Dutch oven up there. I have my canner that pretty much always is staying on my stove. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cast iron skillets, which I'm not getting rid of. I'm not getting rid of a single one. So I've gotten used to the routine of, and when you do this, people ask me, like, my husband did not grow up with his mom doing this. So he's like, you're going to catch the house on fire. And I'm like, no, sir, that's not a thing, because you're just trained to know to never turn on the oven without checking the oven door. Like, it's a whole thing. I could feel a little silly sharing this part, but I feel like other people have to do it too. Or is it just like something we did in our family? I don't know. So I've gotten used to kind of, I always check the oven, then I, put the skillets, on the countertop somewhere. But I don't have a whole lot of countertop space too, y'all, so it's always made sense to keep them in the oven. But I can't do it anymore. I cook way too much to always be doing this transfer of stuff. It's too much. And so I have broken down, and I've been eyeing this thing probably for the past 2 years. But my kitchen's tiny, and I love my little chair space, and I love having my little composter space. But I found this Lodge cast iron rack, and it's getting good reviews. I've seen a couple videos here on YouTube with it, and so I said, you know what, Cash, just stop. So I'm broken down. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and put this thing together. All right, so here we are, and this thing is solid. Woo, yeah, all right. Let's put this together. All right, so this is what we're looking at. A few screws and acorn nuts and washers. I can do this. You have like 2 of these because it's like in a tripod thing. So it's like 2 here. And then you have, each one of these is a shelf, but they're like different sizes. I am a little nervous because one thing I say about assembly, I mean, I will do it if I have to, like nervously, right? But I saw this shirt one time from Lowe's, and the shirt said something like, I'm butchering it, but it said something like, I assembled things so well. Oh, this is so not it. But it was something like, it was like all these kind of washers and screws like that. And it was like, I assembled it so well that I didn't need to use 10 of the parts. And I'm like, oh gosh. I hope that that is not what I'm about to do. We've got the bottom shelf and the second shelf. It's feeling much more sturdy now. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that I want a cast iron wall so bad, y'all. And for the longest time, I thought that maybe that's what this space would be. But because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 7, and then this, I think I have one more that's downstairs. I wasn't sure. Like, this is an option that I'm really glad that I went with because one, I can kind of move it, you know, as I need it. And then two, look, I am a real cast iron cook, y'all. And so what I'm about to say may sound crazy to some who don't get it, but there are a lot of times where I am reusing the oil that I have in a particular, you know, pan, right? And so, or there's enough left in there that I was wondering, well, if you're hanging your cast iron pans up, is that oil dripping down, whatever else? And so I did like that when I stored them in the oven, if there were some that still had, you know, some oil in them, that I could just move it from, like it would be on that particular rack in the oven. With this, that problem is still fine, right? So then after it's cooled down, whatever else, if I'm cooking something in the morning, it's cooled down, it's fine. And then I know that I can just leave it here on the rack. I just love it for that reason too. I'm just saying, I don't think that's gonna be on any review at all because I don't know, people won't say it, but I will. To get more inspiration for your from scratch preservation kitchen, click on the video on your screen. I'll see you in my kitchen or garden soon. Take care, friends.